past, Clinton County, Missouri was the western edge of the United States. Situated between two emerging cities, Kansas City and St. Joseph, Clinton County benefited from their growth. The Pony Express, the Gold Rush, and Western migration brought people through the county, but the population that settled here put it on the map. Plattsburg became the beef capital of the world. Lathrop was the major supplier of mules for the Boer Wars and World War I. 5 railroads crisscrossed the county, and the nation's first north-south highway ran through Cameron, Plattsburg, and Trimble on its way to Kansas City. Clinton County was home to David Rice Atchison, president for a day, James Harvey Birch, Missouri Supreme Court judge, Willis J. Wynn, president of the Cleveland Federal Reserve, and James Marshall, early leader of the Manhattan Project. Here are more family histories of Clinton County.
I'm a descendant of the J.L. Halferty family of Clinton County, formerly the Lewis family as well. The Halferty 80 acres was started and homesteaded by Samuel Stover in 1844 and was purchased from the United States of America for $400. January the 18th of 1848, the property was sold to John and Mary Lewis. October 1878 for $1,275. March 22nd of 1892, John J. Halferty and wife and second wife, Esther, purchased the property for $4,000. Esther Halferty, widow of John J. Halferty, and son John L. Lewis and Alma Halferty, purchased the farm in 1902. Esther Halferty and daughter Alma Halferty sold the land to John Lewis Halferty in 1909 for $1 to keep the family farm going. J.L. and Mamie Halferty were married April the 6th, 1921, and in June the 11th, 1921, John L. Halferty and Mamie Ethel Lott of Grayson, Missouri, were united in marriage and purchased the farm after they had been married for $10 in order to keep the farm in the family. August 12th of 1960, Carl L. and Christine Halferty and Joseph B., J.B. Halferty and Dolores Halferty purchased the property from John L. Halferty and Mamie E. Halferty, which were the parents of Carl and J.B. July 22nd, 1974, Halferty Brothers Incorporated, which were the two brothers of J.B. and Carl, purchased the property from John L. and Mamie E. Halferty. March 6th of 1980, Halferty Brothers Incorporated sold to Don W. Lyle and Jeanette Halferty Lyle in order to keep the farm in the family. My grandfather, John Lewis, J.L. Halferty, came to the farm at the age of 14 from Knob Noster, Missouri, after the death of his father. His mother, Esther, and sister, Alma, also moved to the farm that was owned by the Lewis family, who were his mother's family. The farm was later sold to his mother, Esther, and sister, Alma, and himself. My grandparents, John L. and Mamie Lott Halferty, were married April 6, 1909. After several years of marriage, they purchased the farm from his mother, Esther, and sister Alma in 1921. 6 children were born and raised in the house on the farm which we now live. Mildred was the oldest, J.B. Joseph Benjamin was second, Bessie was third, Carl was fourth, Wilson was fifth, and Naomi was sixth. They resided on the farm until old enough to marry and leave for other adventures. My father, J.B., his father, J.L., and his brother, Carl, ran a successful cattle feeding operation on the family farm. They also owned a grain elevator, Halferty Brothers, on Highway 116, plus an elevator and fertilizer plant in Dearborn, Missouri. In 1960, J.B. and Carl purchased the Happy Hollow site at the junction of 169 and 116 highways and would continue to operate the service station and cafe along with Halferty Brothers elevator. This area was called at the time Happy Hollow. I do not know where that name originated from, but there was a restaurant and cafe there for years. It now houses a church, I believe. They also continued the cattle feeding operation as well. J.B. and Carl retired in 1986 after owning the Halferty Brothers elevator after 52 years of service to local farmers. Don Lyle and myself purchased the 80-acre farm in 1980 from Halferty Brothers and continued feeding cattle, planting crops, while also operating a hay baling business for 21 years. We raised our two sons, J.W. and Don W., on the family farm in which we still live. We have been very fortunate to also be blessed with 6 grandchildren that have also enjoyed farm life on weekends spent with us. To go back to the original owners, Samuel Stover, I'm not sure if he is a relative. I cannot seem to locate. I know he homesteaded the 80 acres, and that's where it originated. The second family was the Lewis family, which was my grandfather Halferty's mother's family. In order to keep the farm functioning, because we all know that farming comes and goes, you have ups and downs. My grandmother was a very hard worker. She raised chickens and eggs and everything they ate on the family farm. She had an orchard, also had a huge garden. She, during the years of the Depression, when times were hard, she sold eggs, chickens, and other produce at the Kansas City Farmers Market in order to keep the farm functioning when cattle prices and grain prices were low. Also, my grandmother Halferty fed many truck drivers that worked for the business and the elevator and the trucking line. She fed and housed many people that were driving through the countryside that needed a place to stay and a meal, a hot meal. There's another side of the story as well. My mother was Dorothy Dolores Biggerstaff. The Biggerstaff family also originated in Plattsburg. Our house used to face straight south due to the fact that the road behind our house now, which is a gravel road, was the Jefferson Highway, which went from Pines to Palms, Canada to New Orleans. So in 1936, my grandfather Biggerstaff, my mother's father, James Biggerstaff, helped to build 116 Highway, which is directly in front of our house now. It was built in 1936. He was a WPA worker. WPA stood for Work Projects Administration. It was a federal agency that employed men to relieve national employment, and it functioned from 1935 to 1943. So now we have the Jefferson Highway behind our house, and we now have Highway 116 in front of our house, which was put in 1936. So in 1948, my grandparents, John Lewis and Mamie Halferty, decided to reverse the house. So our house now faces the north. So the old house, as you can see, faces the south. The front porch is columns, which face the south. To the north is a huge summer-winter kitchen, which was screened in. No indoor plumbing. The cistern was also housed there where they caught water to use, and the well water also. So they reversed the house in 1948. They tore off the summer-winter kitchen, which they called it back then, added a living room, a mud room, and a huge kitchen, and That's why our cistern and our well are at the front door of our house. Our cellar's at the front door of our house. And so our house now sits and faces the north, which faces 116 Highway. So the actual front door of our house now opens into the garage, which is added on to where the front porch used to be. So when Highway 116 came in, the Jefferson Highway went to gravel, which was originally a dirt road. And I know my grandmother also fed those men that helped put in Highway 116 during those years because they had to have a place to eat and a place sometimes to sleep. So that is the history of the Halferty farm, as well as I have my mother's father who helped build 116, who is also from Plattsburg, which was the Biggerstaff family.